welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be drawing again, typical. So today I'm going to be drawing with my Faber-Castell Polychromos. This is a 12 set that I got from Jazz's Jazzy Art Box, and I really wanted to test these out again and try them with some of this toned grey paper. I love drawing on toned paper. It has a really interesting feel and it kind of, I don't know, you end up with different results because of the way that the pencils work on a coloured surface. So without further ado, let's just dive right in and have some fun with these pencils. Let's try that one again. So today I decided that I didn't want to swatch these because I have swatched these recently, and I've also swatched pencils on coloured paper before, and there isn't a lot to learn from that completely. So starting off, I wanted to draw the Pokemon Sinnoh Legendaries, Palkia and Dialga, mainly because they have been on my list for quite a while to draw, and also I have a certain friend who has been nagging at me to draw them, so you know what, I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are. So I had the idea to draw Dialga and Palkia sort of floating in the air, and I wanted to do a bit of a galaxy background behind them because I love drawing my galaxies, and I've actually never drawn a galaxy completely in coloured pencil before. So I have to say this drawing was a little bit of a struggle, mainly because I went through multiple stages of liking and then hating and then liking and then disliking and then loving the drawing. It was a bit of a roller coaster, but to be honest, I got there in the end. So I sketched it out with a mechanical pencil that I had in my sort of art kit thing from Jazza, and then after that I sort of cleaned it up a little bit and then used one of the Tombow bullet nib liners to make the line art. Now usually I don't often do line art with coloured pencils, just colouring in the coloured pencils over the line art, because that can kind of get a little bit messy, but I really wanted to sort of push the contrast in this image and have some really nice details, so I felt like I needed that line art there to sort of emphasize things. So drawing the sketch, I did like it, and then once I started to add that line art, after a little bit I was like, I'm not too sure, I don't know, I just felt a little bit off with it, but I just persevered through that and I got the line art to where I was somewhat happy with it. And then going in with the coloured pencils, I knew I really wanted to sort of push the colours as much as I could. So with Palkia, I decided to use that purple colour to sort of do a very light layer underneath, and I would use this as the shading, and then after that I would put the white pencil over the top of that and colour in really heavily and sort of blend that purple pencil around and get a really nice sort of light lilac-y colour that is good for Palkia. Now as you can see, immediately as I add that white pencil onto the grey paper, it immediately pops off the page and looks so bright and vibrant. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love about toned paper, especially toned tan and toned grey. I don't know, the art has a really different feel to it. It's really bright, and when you add those highlights, it just has, I don't know, just a different feel to how you go about drawing and the results that you get. So for Palkia, I used mostly white, but I did shade with purple in some areas, blue in some areas, as well as the grey areas, which I used a mix of black, blue and the white, and I used a bit of the red on the sort of pearl accents on Palkia's shoulders. For the sort of dark, sort of purple reddish colours on Palkia, I actually went over in the shadow areas and used a bit of blue, and then I put that purple colour over the top really heavily, and those two colours worked well to add that purple colour with a little bit of shading. Now onto Dialga, which was an interesting one to do because with these Faber-Castells, I was just about to call them Prismacolors, but they're not. With these Faber-Castell Polychromos, I only have a small 12 set, so it was a little bit more of a challenge, but I got there. For the blue, the dark blue color, I actually shaded it with a little bit of black and also a little bit of purple. Now, I don't often like to shade with black with colors because I feel like I like to add other colors in there to make it really vibrant, but because I am limited, I had to go with that. But to be honest, I really do like the results. I got a really nice sort of deep shading, and in the highlights I used that slightly lighter blue as well for Dialga, and it really ended up pretty vibrant and glowy looking. I'm actually very happy with the results for Dialga. I feel like I did pretty well. Now for the lighter sort of cyany light blue color of Dialga's patterns, I had to actually layer in a few different colors because I didn't have a sort of light greenish blue color. So what I did was I layered a bit of blue and a bit of green over each other, and I did a few layers of that, trying to build it up in a way where the green and the blue were sort of balanced with each other. And after I got that nice and even and still light, I went over with the white pencil and I sort of pushed hard and tried to blend that around to try and get a nice sort of light cyany greeny blue color. And I actually really like it. I think it does work. I wish it was a little bit more even, but to be honest, with pencils it's hard to get them really even unless you use something like a solvent to blend it, which I didn't want to do. And yeah, I'm actually quite happy with it. With those highlights, it does help Dialga pop off the page more and stand out really, really well. So for the grey parts of Dialga, I just did very similar to the grey parts of Palkia, except a little bit darker this time because I wanted it to sort of, I don't know, match a little bit more. And I just used a bit of black, a bit of the light blue color, and then you guessed it, white over the top. Now I pushed hard in the areas where I wanted to highlight first, and then after that I blended the colors around on areas where I wanted a bit of a mid-tone. And for the shadows, I did leave a little bit without white, and that was mainly just so that I could have a sort of deep shadow to sort of emphasize that bit of a steel aspect, because Dialga is a steel type, so you really want him to look like he is sort of made of metal. So at this point I was liking the drawing again, which was great because I liked the sketch, and then the line art I was like and then like the coloring phase I was very happy with and I really liked it. But this next part got me very, very nervous. You see, I had planned to do a bit of a galaxy background. Now I wasn't sure what colors to do because if I did blue, the Dialga would sort of disappear a little too much, and if I did purple, the Palkia would disappear a little bit too much. And blue and purple are sort of my go-to colors for galaxies, so I was a little bit stumped there. So I decided to go with green. Now the reason I decided to go with green for the galaxy is because Palkia, a purpley, pinky purpley color, has a bit of blue tones in it, and Dialga obviously has a bit of blue tones in it because it is a blue Pokemon. So I picked the other color that has blue in it, which is green. So this made me very, very nervous because I was scared of ruining it. One, I was coloring a galaxy in a color that I don't normally do. Two, I was coloring a galaxy in with art supplies that I don't normally draw galaxies with, which is colored pencils. So it was a little bit of a challenge, but I'm always up for a challenge and I'm very stubborn, so I really wanted to sort of pull this off and get it good. So I just dived right in and I laid a lot of different colors over the top of each other, some greens, some blues, some blacks, some yellows, but overall trying to keep the green tones the most dominant ones and using the other ones to sort of add shading and highlights. And yeah, I went through multiple stages through the background. When I started it off, I was like, oh my god, I have ruined this. This is going to look crap. The Pokemon are going to look silly. the background's gonna look weird and muddy, and I just kept layering over until it was like sort of really blended and interesting. That's a word for it. And I wasn't a huge fan of it when I did when I sort of finished the galaxy patterny areas. However, I persevered because I know with drawing galaxies, especially with other galaxies that I've drawn, they do look a little bit weird until you add the final details. So I decided to go around all the Pokemon here with my white gel pen, which would help the Pokemon stand off the page a little bit more, stand out from that background, which I feel like I had a little bit of an issue with. I feel like they were disappearing a little bit. So I went in with the white gel pen and I did a nice area around the outside of the Pokemon, nice outline. And this is interesting because with my Prismacolor pencils, the gel pen doesn't really like to layer over them very well, and I feel like the Faber-Castells, they work a little bit better with the gel pen. Obviously not perfect, it is still a little bit more difficult because it's got that waxy texture, but I feel like it worked a little bit better than the Prismacolors. I'm surprised. And yeah, after this I decided to go in with all of the stars for the background, which is my favorite part of drawing galaxies. I love to cram so many stars in there, like bright ones and lesser bright ones, and just stars all over the place. Just cram it full of stars. And yes, I was so glad after this because I decided that I liked it after all. I was very happy with the background. I feel like it's very shiny, glitzy, glowy, looks like a galaxy. It's green, the Pokemon stand out, and I am so relieved because I went through so many stages of like grief with this. I was terrified of ruining it, and then I was like happy and then angry, but you know what? I've settled on loving it, and yeah, here's the final results, and I love it so much. So please let me know below what you think of this artwork, if I should do some more Sinnoh Pokemon, maybe the other two Legends of Sinnoh. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to get your scribble fix in the future if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone!